Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Coming up, the team is going to talk about how we all got here. Coming up next, from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida, this is the DIS Unplugged. This is the DIS Unplugged, episode 804 for the week of May 12th, 2015. The DIS Unplugged is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Disney vacation. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the show, coming to you live from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends John Magi.
Hi, everybody.
Kevin Close.
Hey, everybody.
Teresa Eccles.
Hello.
Corey Martin.
Still happy to be here.
And back in the production nook, our associate producer Craig Williams on the switcher.
Hi.
Along with Rhino Clavin and our producer Dustin West.
I'm happier than Corey.
So we regularly get emails from our listeners and our viewers wanting to know how it is we all came to be doing this. And I know we had done a show a few years back, I think a couple times over the last almost 9 years that we have been doing this show. We've kind of talked about this, but we're very grateful and very fortunate that our audience continues to grow. It certainly has grown quite a bit in the last year, and it's more than doubled since we went to video. And so as a result of that, I thought maybe it would be a good time to kind of do this show again and kind of give everybody a little background, kind of get to know everybody a little bit better in terms of how they got here and all that good stuff. So, who am I going to start with?
Actually, why don't we do it chronologically? Why don't you start, and we can talk about how then everybody sort of got added.
Or go the opposite way and start with the newbies.
Start with, I think
Or
we
start
should.
in the middle.
Or go by age.
Oh, my God.
You really want to do that? How about we take questions from chat?
There is no chat
know.
because we don't have...
Well, why don't we start with Rhino? I'm going to start with Rhino.
Yeah, I want to
Rhino,
know, too. Why are you here?
Tell
I was
the story.
hoping somebody else to go first because I was like, how do they format this? And I was like, I'll just hear how everybody else tells their story.
As far as we're concerned, Rhino just showed up one day.
It's kind of like,
As a matter of fact, we said, who's the guy in the plaid shirt?
I've been living in the bushes outside for about 2 years now. How did I get started here? Well, my good friend over here, Dustin, and I have known each other for, I don't know, like 4 years now? 5 years now? Yeah. And he started here, and that's how I learned about the DIS and stuff. And he would always tell me about work, and I was finishing school at the time. And
school for?
I went to school for film at UCF, and I graduated last May, and I had been looking for like a job over the summer unsuccessfully, and I was a little down on myself, and he came in and told me,
guardian angel.
Yeah, swooped in. No, he told me about the possibility of an opportunity here, and I always thought it was just like I loved hearing stories about Dustin's time here, and I loved like the opportunity, and so he just brought me in to meet with Pete, and it was Pete, Craig, Dustin. I met Julie that day too. For a dinner that was very nice. I had a lot of fun. If I hadn't gotten hired, it still would have been a great evening. I really enjoyed myself. And
I think you had the filet.
I did have the filet. You are correct. Yeah.
I went to the Yachtsman.
I was very overwhelmed that night too. I was sweating through several shirts, and I was, of all places to go eat, the first night it was the Yachtsman, and I'm, small town guy sitting there just trying not to eat with the wrong fork or sip my wine and
Yes, 'cause that's how we are.
Small town girl making her way in the world.
We judge your fork usage.
Yeah.
So you
It's a John Mellencamp song.
Were you a Disney fan?
So I worked for Disney. Well, it all started back in the year 1985 when I was birthed from my mother.
Are you sorry you started with Rhino now?
85.
85?
85.
I have to go.
Yeah.
Great.
He's older than me.
My great-grandmother, she lived down here, and so we would take a road trip every year down here, and one of the things was we would get rewarded with a trip to Disney. We had to save all our we used to recycle everything. I would go through the recyclables with my grandparents, and I would save all my bottles and cans and glasses, and that would be my Disney money to pay for the trip. So we used to come
It's
every
like a
year.
John Steinbeck novel.
And there was a turtle crossing the road very slowly for 2 chapters at the beginning. But for anybody who's read The Grapes of Wrath, but
Good job. Good reference.
anyway, so that's where I got started on Disney, and also we watched all the Disney movies as kids. And then, fast forward to like 2007, I moved down here to go to school, and it took a little while to get that process started. But my grandmother had passed away at that point, my great grandmother, and so I just felt like I wanted to come here because I never did while she was here, and I started working at Disney, and that got me the behind the scenes magic a little bit, and that's, I don't know. I don't know what to say about Disney. It's just always been present in my life, I guess.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I'm a
Sorry,
fan.
I
I'm a
needed
fan. I'm
to
not.
get-
I didn't say a word.
I don't know what else to tell you guys.
And you were a
I'm
cast
very-
member, right?
I was, yeah.
Where did you work?
At Hollywood Studios, I worked in the Backlands. I did Lights, Motors, Action, and the first half of the backlot toward the water tank, which I really enjoyed it. I think that's my favorite place I've worked down here.
Where you
The
got to
Badlands.
introduce one of the world's greatest directors,
Michael Bay. My favorite director, Michael Bay. That was the line. I had to grind my teeth in my sleep over that one. But it was, it's fun. It was kind of like it was all fate. I feel like, because I'm going to school for film, and then I started working at that attraction. That's like, we're filming a movie, and so it was, it was a good place to work while I was in school, and I am very happy for the opportunities that were afforded to me there, and and I'm look forward to my time with the DIS right now. So
Awesome.
Good plug.
Yeah, very nice. Nice way to end it. Okay. Good. Thank you, Rhino. Let's talk to you, Craig. I'm going to
Okay.
go in order of how the
Backwards order.
yeah
Cool.
of how they joined the team. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how to start. Where did you start again?
1985.
Yeah.
With the flaming
He started at birth.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Let's not try to do that for everybody,
And then
okay?
there were turtles and
I
grandmothers.
was born a poor black child in Pittsburgh,
We're
and
going to get letters.
Craig at wdwinfo.com.
it's a jerk
if you haven't
reference.
seen that movie,
Email Steve Martin.
Anywho, no, born and raised. Well, no, I was born in Ohio, raised in Pittsburgh area. That's where I went to college.
Near the cotton fields?
In the cotton fields of Pennsylvania. Very, very correct there. And so I went to school for communication. Originally, I wanted to be an engineer, and I had a bit of a bad habit of not wanting to go to class.
But you got the brain for that.
Yeah, I do have. Well, I mean, if I had the brain for it, I would have went to class and showed up and would have done well. But I switched to communication because I was actually passionate about it. I liked making videos, stuff like that. And I was on the way to being hopefully a reporter or a cameraman for a news company, and then I made kind of a little bit of a mistake in my life that I don't like to think about much anymore. But either way, I couldn't get a job in that field anymore because of it.
Whoa, okay. Wait, I need more on that. Tell me later, okay?
Okay, later.
Oh, no, now.
Let's just say I made a mistake while driving one night. I didn't kill anyone, but I made a mistake while driving, and you have to have a good record if you want to drive around news trucks all day. So I kind of had nothing else to do because I didn't know what to do in my area of the land. So I decided to apply for the Disney College program, and I got rejected. And I don't remember why.
Where's my tissue?
So, yeah, I know. It's a very sad story. You'll want it. And I am a storyteller. So,
you guys
It's a
complained about my
colorful
turtle
story.
crossing the road.
and it's raining outside. It's just all gotten very sad right now.
Yeah, really. It's
It
like
is.
God is crying or something.
Dim these lights and just bring up the blues.
So I didn't get accepted, so I decided to start a master's degree program. And then while I was in my graduate program, I was able to apply again because they'll take anyone who's technically in school. And then that's whenever I got accepted, and I had my pleasant time at Test Track with my nice little Disney firing that I've talked about multiple times throughout the show about how I was let go from the college program for stupid reasons. And yeah, my life just has a lot of downs. Not a
I
lot
was
of
going to
ups.
say, did anybody review his resume?
We're getting to the upswing.
Is it after the show?
Yes. So then, after I'm gone from
Hey.
Disney,
Pot kettle black. I can't. I can't criticize anybody.
Disney didn't want me, so luckily Universal was in need, and they decided to pick me up. And then I spent time working at Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, working my way up there, and then becoming kind of a shift manager type position over at Dragon Challenge. And one of the things I didn't learn in college was how to network, probably because I wasn't going to class, like I've already said. But luckily my sister did go to class, and she learned how to network, and she listened to a podcast that I also listened to, but she was actually like way more obsessed to the point that she decided to friend all these people on Facebook that didn't know her, like Pete. And so whenever Pete put out the word they were looking for another video person for upcoming projects, she passed it along to me, and I reached out to Pete and met with him and Dustin, and
You had a
Forget
caramel
dinner?
macchiato.
yeah, what?
You had a caramel macchiato.
Actually, no. I had I believe a buffalo chicken pizza at Wolfgang Puck's,
Express. Yep.
and then after that we went and got ice cream at Ghirardelli, but I don't remember what I had.
Everybody needs to talk about their
I got an interview
food.
dinner.
All of these things do take place around food, and I'll tell you why. Because they all start out working for me like really thin and in great shape, and my goal is to make them fat.
Thank you. I'm there.
Should I come around
But
and
you
model
came
myself?
this way.
No, I've gained 50 pounds since I've been
You
in
have
this.
not
I
gained
have.
50 pounds.
I have. It's your fault.
God is
I
her,
mean-
God is her witness.
I smell workers' comp.
Oh no, you didn't.
So I blame most of it on John because of the tension. But
Okay, but yeah, it seems like all these stories somehow revolve around food. So
It's a good place.
I just said to John, I don't think I had my interview dinner.
you didn't have an interview. He's just like, I want to hire him. Like, okay.
Don't give away my story.
That's it. Kevin doesn't have to go.
So Wolfgang Puck Express, I met with them and everything went well. I freelanced and did a lot of random videos for the next couple months, and then right before we took the podcast live on video every week, that's whenever Pete told me that he actually wanted me to be a part of this in a longer term sense. So I humbly accepted and waved goodbye to Universal and theme park worlds, and yeah, now I'm here.
Oh, well, Universal really changed your life, didn't it?
Oh, it absolutely changed my life. It set me on a good track, as you could tell from my sad story. I had a lot of down slopes. So then,
But there was one particular thing at Universal that really changed
Oh
your
well,
life.
that's where I broke the rules once again, and I was. I met Kylie there. I was.
Oh, okay. I was
trying
like,
to
I
think.
wanna know,
Yeah, I
what
met
is it?
Kylie there.
Okay, I didn't know that, see?
And
They have rules about meeting people?
they have rules about
Fraternization.
their. Yeah, I wasn't allowed to fraternize with
proximity.
my employee, because technically I was 1 step, 2, 3, 4 steps above her. So
It was added a few in there.
it was very frowned upon, but we did it the right way, in secret, and then.
And now engaged to be married, and I don't think too many of our listeners or viewers have had the pleasure of meeting Kylie. But you want to talk about just the most lovely, sweet, wonderful girl. And, we all say behind his back, what the hell is she doing? But
Does she know his story?
She's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Oh yeah, no, she absolutely is.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this job and her, it all just kind of comes together. I mean, she's a lot of the reason why I actually, put a foot forward. I didn't want to just work at Universal the rest of my life, and she was there in secret, right beside me, motivating me to
As all good
reach
women are,
out,
pushing.
and
Pushing their man.
I believe she dressed me whenever I went to meet Pete and Dustin for the first time. So.
And apparently she stopped.
Yeah, I was about to say she's not perfect at everything.
No, she's a very important part of my life, as is everything with the DIS. And no, I've had a weird ride, but it's been a good ride.
awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
not over yet.
And both of these men back there really have Dustin to thank for being here, because Dustin was the person who recommended Rhino, to come on board. And Dustin was the one who said to me as we were getting everything ready to go to start doing the live shows that we're going to need another person. And that's when we put the call out on Facebook, and Craig got the job. So let's talk to you, Dustin.
Well, it started in a cotton field in Pennsylvania. No, I was born and raised in Lynchburg, Virginia, and
We're doing that
We're
again.
not doing that
I knew,
anymore.
I knew this. I can't clutch my pearls
Yeah.
if I know thee.
so for those of you in Elberg, what's up? I never do that again. Okay, I'm never going to do that again. Then I went to Virginia Commonwealth University, VCU, in Richmond, Virginia, for filmmaking. I did that after several failed attempts to get into other film schools. And throughout that time, I did 2 college programs for Disney and really, really liked it.
You were a huge Disney fan from the time you were a
I
kid.
have been a Disney fan since birth. I went to Disney when I was like 6 months old or something like that, and haven't stopped going ever since. And my parents were lucky enough to be able to take us quite often, at least every other year, if not more. And had been a huge fan. And then I actually found out about the college program on the DIS boards, because I was going through the different boards and saw the college board, which at this point in time has predominantly become about the college program, that particular board, and learned more and more about it. And I can't remember if I've told this story on the show, but when I went for a in-person interview for the Disney College program, they didn't have one at my school, but they had one at the school just down the road. Unbeknownst to me, was I forget what they call it, a historically black college, right? And that was fine. And I go there, and the recruiter looked at me and said, "You've got the job right now." for it was right after the thing. He said it took a lot of guts for you to come here. I was like, I don't necessarily feel like
Why
this
would it
is
take guts to go there?
a bad place or anything like that. But he said, you must really want it. It took a lot of guts to come here, and you must really want it if you're going to be here. And I was like, I just showed up for an interview, but thanks. So the next time I did the college program, I went back there again and got the same deal. So after I graduated, had some bad stuff happen in my life, and decided I was not going to be in Virginia anymore. So I decided to pick up and go somewhere else, and the only place I knew was down here near Disney and in Orlando, and worked at Disney for a little while. In fact, I moved down here without a job or anything. I got the job once I moved down here, and that was a scary point in my life, not knowing what I was going to do or where I was going to live. And worked at Disney for about a year, and all the while, for basically since this show has started, I have been listening to this show. So, I come down here also with a real hope that I'm going to do whatever I can to meet you guys, and even if it's just to meet you and be friends or whatever, but also the pipe dream being to work with you guys.
I've got pictures of you at Disney, like lurking in the background.
Yeah, and if I wasn't lurking in the background, I was clinging onto you and Kathy and Skip Potter.
Yes.
So throughout that year I was working at Disney, there were things on Facebook, things on the show saying, hey, we're doing a meet here, we'll be in the parks here, and I just went to every single one that I could. I think met John and Kevin, I met everybody except for Pete wasn't there at that one.
The Polynesian meet.
At the Polynesian meet, but spent most of my time talking to you guys. And then eventually we went out to dinner, and
Well, you had actually messaged me on Facebook at one point
oh yeah.
that you were a film student and you wanted to come like hang out in the studio and watch how we did what we did.
Yeah, we had just
And
hired somebody. Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't even about a job. It was just, he was
Yeah, it was
wanted
just
to come like see how we did the show. He's a fan of the show, and I said to him, "Oh, absolutely. I'm going to be away, but I'll have somebody reach out to you." And set it up for you to come over, be at a show while I'm away, and I just blew him off.
And then I harassed Kevin, and he said, "I have no idea what you're talking about."
Which usually happens.
There's a funny story about that. We were with some other people that day, and we were all just talking, and I said, "Do you all want to go out to dinner?" And we went out. We went to Celebration Town Tavern, and I said to the other two, "Well, make sure you invite your friend Dustin." And they said, "Well, we don't really know him. We just met him." I'm like, "Invite him anyway." So we all went out to dinner.
Yeah,
And then John passed
the good word.
your information over to me, saying he wants to do video, which I passed on to Corey. And then Corey reached out to you.
Yeah, spent some good time with Corey before all this happened. Spent some good time with Corey at the Down Syndrome Association walk.
I remember that. You remember
Yeah,
that, too.
again, clinging on to Corey, clinging on to somebody I know.
Yeah, the first video I had you do was the Mickey's
Christmas party.
Christmas party overview.
What
Yeah.
year was that?
2012. Yeah,
2011.
The Christmas of 2011.
And then you were hired in April.
Yeah, and that's we've mentioned that story a few times on the show, but for the press cruise or the media cruise for the fantasy was kind of my trial run.
I remember that. I remember when you were going to that.
No, we had set
That was in January. I remember that.
we had set Dustin up. We needed somebody to help cover that, and we had tapped Dustin to work with Corey covering the fantasy cruise. And between the time we set that up and the time the cruise actually happened, I had a position open up, I had a full-time position open up. And driving to the port for that cruise, I called Corey and said, "Okay, this is his job interview. I want to see how he does." And I said, "So put him through his paces."
Well, meanwhile, I'm driving to the port on the phone with my brother. Is he ever going to offer me a job? What is happening? I don't know.
And
He's still on his interview. It's just one long interview. I think it's important to note we get a lot of emails from folks. I want to be part of your show. How do I become part of your team? How do I do it? These guys are a good example of, there's a lot of trial by fire. We want to see how you work and how you are before we're just going to bring you in.
Also, though, a lot of it is just timing and
Right place, right time.
There's a lot of people that live, all over the country that would love to work for us, but generally speaking, we need people here in Orlando, and it's something opens up, and I kind of look at the landscape. I prefer to go with somebody that I know or someone that knows someone I know, so that there's some kind of, I'm not taking a huge risk in hiring them. But and Dustin in particular did it right. He never got up in our grill about wanting a job. He showed up different places, put himself forward, he said to us at one point, "I just want to do work in video. I'll even do it for free."
I did say that.
And just kind of made him, and it's not easy to break into this. I'm sorry,
No.
it's just not. There's a lot of people that kind of, like I said, they get up on our grill about it, and that's a complete turnoff. The minute you do that, the minute you come to me and say, "I want a job," you're not getting a job.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a job.
It's all very flowing and natural. There's not a lot of cold calls or cold emails, I should say, of saying, "Hey, I have a resume, here it is." It's more get to know people, be at the right place, right time. Have a talent that is
Needed.
needed.
Well, I should point out this. Well, I had the fun Disney fact about Dustin and I actually, without knowing each other, were working under the same, like where we worked at Hollywood Studios. It was the same area of the thing, so we had the exact same managers.
Yeah, we
but
know
I
a lot
didn't
of the
meet
same
you till the
people.
next year.
Yeah.
It was really weird to hear you telling me these stories where I'm like, I know this person. Like I know this person. But we also worked on a short film. Like I directed, and he was the cinematographer. And
That's right when I moved. Well, we had known each other for a little while, and
Yeah.
I was just itching to do something.
And that was my first, I took a lot away from that because that was our first, close. I think that would be the first time that we, hung out. We were closer and had a lot of campfire stories that night, literally. But
Does anyone else think that Dustin's story is the plot to All About Eve?
Oh, I know. Oh my gosh, that's where I'd heard it before.
Right?
Wow.
Hanging around the stage door.
Just kidding.
I'm not.
You do know that makes you Betty Davis, right?
Yeah, well, It's not a stretch.
Anyway, I'm here, and I love everything about it. I wouldn't trade any of it for anything. I really wouldn't.
Awesome.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Does someone want to give a quick recap of Jenny Lynn, or would she rather tell her own story?
I think they should all tell their own story. They're not here, so they don't get to tell their story.
We're going to do this again?
We'll do this again when
Just
other people are here.
Make up a story for her.
That's right.
That leads to me, right? I'm next.
Yeah, well, I found Jenny Lynn on OBT. I'm kidding.
Doesn't help.
No purse.
I had my eye.
That was Michael Mafrisi's father.
I had my eye on Jenny Lynn for a good solid 2 or 3 years.
I got my eye on her.
And she was always on my radar, and I always said to Corey, I want her. And we'll let her tell her story. But
Voila, here she is, huh?
So, moving on to the lovely and talented Ms.
All
Teresa Eccles.
Harken back to a simpler time. No, I came. You were talking about things opening up, and it just kind of happens. Pete is my brother-in-law, always will be, and you would come to visit. And I remember when he came. It was like New Year's 2008.
New Year's Eve,
2008 in that time frame. Holiday decorations are still up and sitting in the picture for you. It was real pretty. They were at my
Were you
house.
wearing your holiday clothes?
I was wearing my holiday clothes. And, Pete's always on the phone taking calls, and he was talking to Corey, and I remember all that going, ooh, what's going on, what's going on? And then we had a good time.
We had a great
and
time.
then they came back to Florida. A couple months later, Bob died. And in the same time frame, my husband's job was being phased out. So I get this call from Pete, and he's like, hey, what do you think about
Well,
this?
let me just add a little bit to
Add
this.
your part to it, yeah.
That visit was the first time I'd really spent time with you
Right.
guys.
We had come down here a couple times
right,
for
but
holiday, but you'd never been to my house before.
I remember saying to Walter, driving home from that trip, that
He's a freak, right?
yes, that she's a freak. That you know what, she's got real game. She's got real game. She's smart. She's resourceful. You could just see it that she could, really be a great asset to any company that she was working for. And I said to Walter, if an opportunity ever presents itself, she's in my head. She's on my list. That's a good place to be. Mm-hmm. It's a very, very, very good place to be. When I spot something, may not have a position right then and there, but you're on my radar. And so when something opens up, aha. Now, obviously, I never ever expected that the opening would be Bob's passing. But Bob handled certain things for me and for Dreams that I needed somebody to fill in. And right around that time, Kelvin's job got phased out.
Yeah.
And part of the job, was the house you were living in.
Right, we were living on the farm that
Gorgeous.
that he was taking care of the orchids and taking care of their flowers for them. It was a huge, like 800-acre farm, and they had built us a house on 22 acres on the side of the farm, and we'd lived there for 10 years. And so, with the job leaving, also the house was going too. So, we were he was looking for a job. I was working in a daycare teaching 3- and 4-year-olds, and kind of at the end of my rope with that, thinking, this isn't something I want to do forever because, I barely like my own children. I don't want other people. Anyway, so Pete called me, and we talked numerous times on the phone. And then I flew down Father's Day weekend of 2008, and that's when I met. I got 2 dinners out of this. I got 2 meals. My first one, I think, was with you guys.
Yeah, Universal.
At Universal.
Mama Della's.
Mama Della's, yeah. And I was really
You had
impressed
the
with
chicken
Corey.
parm?
I don't know what I had.
I don't know what you
I think I
had.
had the eggplant parm. I don't know. And then the very next night, we were over at Downtown Disney and met John and Kevin. And
Best night of your life.
it was the best. And I remember, and here's what I remember. I thought it was like an interview. And I remember after we left or later on, because I was worried about meeting Pete. You didn't worry me, or meeting John. You didn't worry me so much because I felt real comfortable with you, but don't forget about him. I remember Pete leaning over and saying, you got the job whether John likes you or not, or something like that. I'm going, okay, good. So anyway, but going back before that.
I don't think I would have said that.
No, it was something. I don't know what it was.
I don't think I would have said.
It's not an interview. I don't remember what it was.
Well,
But-
I think because none of these people sitting in this room got hired without him on board.
Right, I know.
So if he's not on board, if he says no, I don't like this, or I don't think this person's right, You know, I may go back and forth with him, but if he says no, then it's no.
That's no.
And so,
So
you know,
evidently he didn't say no.
no, clearly you're here, right?
Clearly.
You didn't say.
I didn't say no.
No, he didn't say no. So
You should have seen the list of stipulations.
I know she can't come anywhere near me. She must sit across the. But going back, Disney was always in my life, but never to the point where I'm going to be in the parks and I'm going to be doing all of this. Because Disney's always in everybody's life. If you're, you know, I mean, I can't imagine anybody.
Especially if you
going
have kids.
Right. If you have
know?
kids. I mean, we went as a child. We were always going to go see Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, Love Bug, all the Disney movies, and of course watching it on television. But once we got down here, I got a crash course. I did not know. I did not remember you telling me that I was going to be on the podcast when I was hired. I don't think.
Oh, none of us knew that.
Yeah, I don't think.
Because I sat in the peanut
None of us
gallery.
knew we were going to be on the podcast,
for-
so it's not a surprise.
I remember I started working 4th of July weekend was when I moved here, and you had said come over and sit in the peanut gallery for the show, and I did all summer long, and then at some point you said to me, you know, you are going to have to speak at some point, and I was terrified because I wasn't going to.
Man, we haven't been able to shut her up ever since.
But my job has evolved through the company. You know, it's kind of, but I'm loving it now. I mean, I've loved it all along, but
Well, I think we found the right track for you.
my spot. Send me
You
out
know,
where
being an
nobody
agent-
hangs out with me.
Being an agent. No, you know what? All kidding aside, outstanding agent for
I
Dreams.
enjoy that. I
I
enjoy
mean,
that, yeah.
really, from the get-go, she has been an outstanding agent for Dreams. And the job she does managing the Welcome Center, I just can't heap enough praise on her.
Yeah, it's fun.
You know, when you had, and this is what I think I saw all those years ago.
that you should work by yourself.
I should work by myself at the board.
60 minutes away.
You know, again, all kidding aside with this, you know, we can joke with
Yeah.
her all we want about certain things, but when it comes to the job she does, I don't want to joke about that. That's she's amazing. She has done such an incredible job, as like I said, as an agent, but also, you know, managing the Welcome Center. She's out there with one or two other people, depending on the day.
Yeah.
And she makes sure that all the things that have to get done at the Welcome Center, and it's not an easy job, especially right now that we're shipping all of these
Yeah,
bags
makes it
out to our
different.
clients. Any of our cruise clients now leaving, you know, anywhere if you're,
No,
No.
well,
leaving out of Port Canaveral, sailings out of Port Canaveral.
oh, we're not doing it everywhere?
We have something else we're working on for that.
Okay. Again, they just roll me out for parties, kids. But, you know, managing all that and making it run so that really John and I don't have to worry about it. You know, you can't put a price tag on that. So, you know, so thrilled.
And then coming here to the show every, you know, whenever you need me here. That's fun.
And she's got a nice following on Facebook.
Yeah, nice little group of
Now you have your own
Yeah, I was just gonna
spin-off.
say, you have your own show.
Then you have your own show.
spin-off. Really. Laverne and Shirley.
Maud.
Maud.
Like
You're the Maud to my
I'm
Archie
the Maud.
Bunker.
Okay. I'll be Maud. Covers my butt with her
You could be
lawn
Florida
flowing.
from Good Times.
Okay.
Dynamite.
Makes Max JJ. Okay, cool. But no, that's kind of my world. That's,
And
you know.
she is crying.
I am weeping. I haven't wept in days.
It only took 45 seconds from the time she started.
What? Were
clocked
you
it.
like clocking
I
it?
did.
Golly. I go days and do not shed a tear, people.
So let's, all right, well, thank you, Teresa. That's how Teresa got here. Let's talk to you, Mr. Close.
Actually, he's next.
No, you
Oh,
are.
You were nice. Corey was hired before.
Corey
you.
was hired before
Oh,
you.
that's true. I was. I was born in 1975, and my mother's Diane von Furstenberg. I've told my story several times. I came to Disney in 1971. My mom and dad made sure that my brother and I, she saw it on TV, and we were coming to Florida. And we spent a great deal of time. My mom always, it seemed I was 11, but I remember my mom spending time making phone calls, and we had no idea why. And I was sitting in a car one day. I can take you to the bridge in Daytona Beach where the phone booth was, and my brother and I saw her, and she started jumping up and down in this phone booth. We thought she had been stung by a bee. And she came out, and she said, we got it, we're going to Disney World. And in 1971, this wasn't on my radar. I didn't know what Disney World was. Apparently, she had seen a show on Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color where they talked about this, and she decided that when the time came, she was taking her family there. And we had gone to Daytona Beach. So she told my brother and I we were going to come to Walt Disney World, and we were kind of upset that we had to leave the beach. This just didn't mean anything to us. And that was in December of 1971. And it changed my life. I spent the rest of my teenage years and into my 20s and even into my 30s plotting how I was going to get back to Walt Disney World and how I was going to get back to Central Florida. And in 1994, I had been involved in a relationship that was a dead end. It just wasn't going anywhere. And I decided it was time to start over. I lived in Albany, and Albany seemed like a very small town at the time. It felt like I had been everywhere and done everything, and I decided I was moving to Florida. I was teaching kindergarten at the time, and I gave my notice, and I moved to Florida in December of 1994. Now, I had been coming since 71, and we bought a house in 1987, but I moved here full-time in 1994, and I worked for a timeshare company. I was a customer service rep, and then I was a customer service supervisor. And I went to Disney World, and I had a great time. And in 2001, I met John. We met on the internet, and we went out to dinner.
You met on the internet? What does hair look like?
ChristianMingle.com.
Was it really a picture of
JD.
him you saw, or was it
in
somebody?
2001. You guys are pioneers.
We met on AOL. And we did Disney trivia. And we went out to dinner one night, and I've kind of been together ever since. But I still worked for a timeshare company.
What was funny about that first night, though? What was funny about that first date?
Oh, is it about the cars?
No, it was about downtown Disney.
Oh, we went to Pleasure Island at like 6 o'clock at night. And we both sort of walked around and thought, what are we doing here? There was nothing going on. So I was working for the timeshare company, and John was running Dreams Unlimited Travel. And he used to say to me, you should go on the boards and talk about stuff on the boards. You're very knowledgeable about Disney. And I thought, please don't any of you be offended. I thought, well, why would I want to go on the boards and talk to people about Disney? Disney's like a couple miles away. Why would I talk about it? It's right there. I don't need, verification that it's okay. I now live here. So, and I went through this whole thing. I'm never going to post on the boards. I'm never going to post on the boards. Well, in 2004, I was downsized. Let's just leave it to that. I was downsized from my job, and I was offered a different position with much less popular hours at a much lower rate. And I called John and I said, I kind of, for all intents and purposes, have been fired. And he said, all right, well, don't move. And before I got out of the parking lot, before I drove out of my parking space and out onto the road, John called me back and he said, okay, come on home, you have a job. And I thought, all right, well, I can do this until I find a real job. And I was very gracious. I was hired within 15 minutes of losing my job, and that's certainly not something most people who lose a job can say. I had a very soft landing. And I started working for DIS and the Dreams, and my job description fluctuates. It kind of is like, what needs to be done today, do it. And it's okay. It's one of those...
She's the Dowager Countess of the
That's right. I had a really hard time at first because I had come from an office environment, and there was always people to talk to, and there was always things going on, and all of a sudden... I lived in a very small house, a 900 square foot house. And a year after we met, John moved in, and he had an office. So he was in a room. And I sat at my dining room table. My office was on my dining room table. And I thought, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm not really good about this whole working alone thing.
That is hard, isn't it? I found that hard too.
And I don't think people understand that. I think it takes a special person to work independently. I mean, and we're not just talking work independently at your desk surrounded by an office building. I'm talking
work alone.
Work alone. And you have to kind of motivate yourself to keep doing what you're doing because I Love Lucy's always on.
Yeah.
It is.
And you don't have to take your jammies off.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky. I've always said I'm one of the luckiest guys on earth. I got a job that also changed my life. I have gotten to do and see and experience things I never thought I would get to experience. And in 2011, March 1st of 2011, we were in New York City for the christening of the Fantasy. And Pete and Walter said they wanted to go to Macy's and buy coats. So we had a car and a driver, and we dropped you off. And I said, John, what do you want to do? He said, let's go get our marriage license. So we drove down to...
Oh, God.
I've heard this before.
I'm clutching my pearls.
We drove down to the clerk of the court or whatever it was called. And do you remember Selma Diamond from Night Court? She was the lady we talked to.
Basically,
Yep.
they pretty much pegs it.
And we were there for the christening, and not the day after, but the day after that, we all went back, and John and I got married.
We got back to Macy's and we picked up Walter and Pete, and they came out with their coats and showed us their coats, and they were very excited, and we talked about it. Drove for a couple blocks, and they turned and said, well, what did you guys do?
You trumped them.
So we went and got our marriage license. What?
Now, we had talked about this.
Okay, I was going to say, did you know all this was going to happen?
No, we had talked about it, but we live in Florida where it was not legal.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that if you're going to protest and think you deserve the right to do something, that when you find yourself with the right to do it, you should take advantage of it. At least that's how I felt for us.
Yeah.
And we found ourselves in New York City, and it was kind of, should we do this?
This should happen, yeah.
I mean, we had been together for 10 years, so it wasn't like a spontaneous spur-of-the-moment thing. And aside from the fact that we now get to fill out one custom form and we file our joint taxes, it's not really any different. I mean, there's not a huge difference. But we got married the day after that, and we went to the christening that night. And I kept telling everybody that this was my reception. That they had hired Mariah Carey to sing for my reception. And the best story is, in the crowd was Tim Gunn from Project Runway. And as the festivities were breaking up, he walked in front of us, and I said, hi, Mr. Gunn, I'm a real big fan. I watch you every week on Project Runway. And I said, and John and I got married today. And he told us congratulations and how that was wonderful, and things had changed so much in our lifetime that we could do this. And then John said to him, and tomorrow we're going down to Canal Street and buy a baby. All the air was sucked out of Tim Gunn's life. Tim Gunn did one of these and walked away. I'm sure he's still telling people this story.
You're messed up. You're so messed up.
Something wrong.
He avoided us for the rest of the evening. Anytime he would see us, he would go around the edge of the room. But I have a great life. I have a wonderful life, and I have a wonderful job. And
It's a wonderful life.
it is.
Bailey over
It's.
there.
I tell people all the time I'm the luckiest guy alive, and I
so
believe that.
sweet.
This is a job where Kevin really gets to use his Disney knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what really was important, was that he found this position that, I mean, again, going since the first days of Disney, experiencing it all, and then being able to do with these Adventures by Disney trips and tell of his experience. And I think Kevin's a very good storyteller. So I think
No
that
question.
this is, a matter of someone falling into the right position, and Pete kind of trusted me.
Right.
Because I know in his mind he went, oh no,
No, I did not.
dead weight.
No, not at all. Honest to God, not for a moment. What is very evident working with Kevin, the reason I think ultimately that you fit in so well here and it worked out so well, you love nothing more than sharing your passion for whatever it is with other people and watching them catch on, watching them
I think that's very
get it.
true.
And I have seen it. I have seen it whether it was selling cruises or Adventures by Disney or Louis Vuitton. And it's not about money. It's not about I'm going to get something for me out of this. It's I love this and I want to share this with as many people as I can. And I want to see them understand and get it the way I understand it and get it. And I want to see them love it the way I love it. And you're like a Pied Piper. And you look at these trips that Kevin puts together, these Adventures by Disney trips, these cruises, these different things that you put together. And anybody who's been on one of these Adventures by Disney trips in particular with us can vouch for this. That's exactly what the experience is. This is Kevin. That Italy trip last year is just such a brilliant, beautiful example of it. These are all things Kevin had experienced on different trips. And he said, no, we got to be here. We got to go here. We got to do this. We got to do that. He made Adventures by Disney upend the trip and change the hotels and change the restaurants and, all of this stuff to create what is, to this date, for me, the best ABD trip I've ever been on. And that's because he infuses so much of his passion in it. And on that trip, he finally got me with the Louis Vuitton. He finally got me with the... But that's really where I saw it, that's, and that is why this whole thing started. This whole thing started from sharing passion, something we love and we're passionate about. And yeah, we've been able to turn it into an awesome business and a really cool business. But at the end of the day, that's what started it. That's what fuels it. And the people who are able to share their passion like that are the ones who do well here. And so I think that's one of the many reasons, other than the fact that you are brilliant and very, very good at what you do. If you're selling something, Kevin's the guy you need to get on board, and then just leave him alone. Leave him alone and let him do his thing.
I never thought my Disney knowledge was useful or valuable. I never thought. I just thought this was geeky crap that I knew. I mean, I didn't think anybody else cared. And I get asked all the time, well, you lucked out and you stepped into this job. And I think to myself, when I first met John, we were selling our crap on eBay. I mean, this was not, we weren't living the high life when we first met in 2001. And I don't mean to make it sound, I don't want my story to be anywhere near as sad as Craig's.
It stopped raining. I think you're good.
But, we have worked really hard to turn this in. And I'm not talking about just us. I'm talking as a group.
As a company, we have come extremely far. There has been some very lean years.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people assume that we've always been successful and have been chugging along. There's been a lot of lean years.
And if you want to know about the podcast, when we first started doing this, and you said we're going to do a podcast, and I thought, all right, which 6 people are going to listen to us this week? I assumed it was going to be my mother and father and, John's family and your family. And
even they didn't listen.
Exactly, that's true. But I remember the day, because you and Bob had talked about doing video, and I think my joke always was, I'm going to do it in a beekeeper's uniform. I don't want to be on TV. I don't want to be on a video. I don't want people to see who I am. And for the longest time, I wouldn't let people post my picture.
I remember that.
But that's because I was going into restaurants, and I've told, I've said things on this podcast about chefs and their food that I don't want people knowing who I am when I sit down, because I don't want nobody spitting in my food. So I was very cautious about not being seen. And then they said, we're going to go to video, and if you want to keep doing it, get on board. And you think, you know what? The first week we were nervous. After that, it just sort of
Kind of
It
flowed.
was scary thinking about it, though, when you said we were going to
Yeah,
video.
scary
And I'm
for all
thinking,
of us,
oh
yeah.
my
It was
God,
scary.
I don't want to do this.
Yeah, I don't ever really want to be the center of attention. I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
And this has been surprising. So, and I like it. I love the fact that I get to talk to people and meet people, and I've met some really great friends doing this.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. That's been the best part.
People
Isn't it?
always assume that we're living in one big podcast house.
It's like the teachers live at school.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just want people to know that I don't see Corey or Teresa unless it's here or we're at an event.
Doesn't like his Corey.
It just we don't see each other. We live in opposite parts of the city or the area we live in, and we come together to do this.
Well, this is just not a small thing, but it's a small portion of our world for
most of
Yeah,
us.
this
For
is-
most of us.
Most of us,
Yeah,
this
there's
is a part of our job. It is
Yeah.
not our job. It's not
Right.
the end all and be all. It's not the thing that we 24 hours a day are focused on.
Right.
But it's an important part of what we do, so
Yeah.
we do put the energy into it.
So, all right, let's talk to you, Mr.
So I just
What
want to
about
say one
Corey?
more thing.
Oh.
I just want to say.
End your segment.
Thank
that's
you.
right, Corey.
Don't end my segment. I just want to say thank
Don't
you
end my segment.
to both of you. I'm the luckiest guy alive.
No, we feel the same way.
It's true.
We feel the same way. Mr. Martin.
Yeah, I want to hear this.
Corrington.
You've never heard of it before?
I don't think I have heard
Takes
your
5
story.
seconds. No, I'm from the West Bank in New Orleans.
That's a great story, John.
I was I was brainwashed Disney from an early age. We used to skip Mardi Gras and come to Disney instead. The everybody's headed to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. We were at Disney, so I was definitely brainwashed Disney all my life.
Mom or dad?
Both.
Both?
Actually, the entire family. We're all Disney fans. There was one time at River Country that I remember telling my dad. Well, I don't remember. My dad tells me the story that I came down one of the slides and I saw a lifeguard, and I said, I would love to do that. I would love to lifeguard at Disney. That would be so much fun. And so fast forward, I'm in college at LSU studying graphic design, and I saw a flyer on the wall in 1997 for the college program. And this is when you can still do the college program just in the summer. You didn't have to skip a semester of school. So I was able to leave. So I went to the interview, got the job as a lifeguard. So summer 97, I came here and worked at Blizzard Beach as a lifeguard. Loved it so much. Came back the following summer of 98 and met Julie at LSU. Her and her girlfriends were moving into the apartment right next to me and my friends. They were freshmen. And we started dating. And I told her, I said, once I graduate LSU, I'm leaving. I'm going to Orlando. I'm picking everything up and just going. I said, and as we kept dating, I said, why don't you come with me? And I said, I'm not going to be able to pay for your out of school stuff because I'm not going to make much money. She did. She picked up everything and left. We, diploma in one hand, U-Haul in the other. We were working together at a restaurant. We saved our tips in a jar and just to save up to buy furniture, like cheap furniture. Like, went to Service Merchandise and bought the cheapest things we can. Yeah, but we saved up enough money for the U-Haul, I think our first month's rent and some basic furniture, and we came here, and I didn't have anything in my career set, so I used Blizzard Beach as my stepping stone. So I went back to Blizzard Beach, started working there as a lifeguard coordinator. It's a step above being a lifeguard, but you're still walking around in your
Get to
bathing
smell
suit.
your own strap.
Yeah,
Smell your own strap.
I don't know what that means.
The people who don't listen to the first show are going to be
yes. It was fun. It was fun working at Blizzard Beach, but a year went by and I said, I am just not doing anything with my career. I felt like my brain was going to mush. I'm, lifeguarding on stands some days, talking to lizards. It's just, I need to do something. So I got my portfolio, got it all together, and I applied for the Disney Design Group. They had a job opening. They sent in my resume at first. 400 people sent in their resumes, and then they cut it down to about 100. And then they cut that down to about 50 people, 50 or 100 people to send in their portfolios. And I sent my portfolio in, got down to the interview process of 12 people at the Disney Design Group, and they hired 2. I was not one of them. So I went back to Blizzard.
Thank God.
I went back to Blizzard Beach. My, kind of thought I was going to get that job. I didn't. So I said, I can't. I got to keep moving. So I ended up picking up a newspaper and looking in the job description ads, and there was a ad.
Back in the day when you did that.
There was an
what I was
ad
thinking.
for internet assistant. So I just started circling things, and I called. I think I had to, called, and I forgot how I got you my resume, but it was here. It was with Pete, and I went and it was a real job interview, not at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Did you dress up for it?
I did. I dressed up. I had my portfolio and
Well,
everything.
it is at what is now the B Resort. It was the Courtyard by Marriott.
It was Grosvenor.
Oh, Grosvenor. That's right. It was Grosvenor, and I had a conference room in there, and I must have. And mind you, folks, this was 4 weeks after 9/11. I was the only game in town hiring. It was the only game in town hiring.
How many people did you interview?
Oh, I'm going to say I probably had 30 interviews over 2 days.
Wow.
And Corey's interview was, I want to say, about toward the end of the first day. And I looked at his portfolio, and I knew I was going to hire him. And I felt really bad for the people I had to interview the next day, because unless God himself walked in,
already had.
I've already made my mind up.
Well, what's an internet assistant? What was your job
Well,
description?
yeah.
What's your job description?
Well, I just want to know, because he was hired from an ad. I just was interested to know
what had happened. Okay, 9/11. It looked like this business was done. The entire travel industry in Orlando just completely dried up. And we're all sitting around looking at each other like, okay, what are we going to do? I got on the phone with one of the hotels that we worked with in downtown Disney, Courtyard by Marriott. It was not the Courtyard. It's not the Courtyard now, but it was the old B Resort. And I said, look, I'm dead, you're dead. Let's do something. And we worked out this like really incredible deal where it was like Monday or Sunday through Thursday, $29 a night, and $99 a night in the weekends. And we couldn't sell them fast enough. And I credit that deal with saving the company because it gave me enough money. We made enough money from that I could keep making payroll. And just barely.
Payroll being...
Well, first of all, I want to say this was one of the scariest things was that we were hiring, quote unquote, a real employee. You know, we were bringing somebody on who wasn't already part of the company, who hadn't come in through a different channel.
Well, we'd already done that. A couple times. We'd had Lisa, we'd had Nathan at that point that we had hired these people. But
Corey, for me, it felt like it was like
Big
this was the
kids.
next step because we were hiring someone who was like a professional
this was
for a specific job.
Well, and I like the fact that he had graphic design experience, but we needed an assistant. We needed somebody to help out in all. So that was answering phones,
Everything.
Processing reservations, helping update the site, doing all that stuff. Obviously, it didn't take long to realize where Corey's talents truly lied, and he really became more about developing the site. And my sister Lisa was working for us at one point. My niece Melanie was working for us at one point. But that's when he came on. So that was October of 2001.
2001. This year we're going on 14 years.
14 years.
Yeah. Started working out of your house.
Mm-hmm.
10 to 6. You called me 10 o'clock, Corey, because I'd show up at 10 o'clock. And 6 o'clock, Corey, because I'd leave at 6.
Yep.
But then I started bringing, I'd go and I'd work all day, and I'd go home. I'm like, shoot, I still have stuff I need to do. So I started bringing the computer with me.
Like the desktop.
The big old,
big
I
desktop. He
started
was
bringing it
lugging the
home
desk.
with me. And then finally Pete's like, you know what, there's no point of you coming here anymore. So just take all the equipment. They even took the desk and everything. He said, just start working from home. And
Needed that furniture.
Been doing that.
Really? He's got furniture.
Been doing that ever since. And, I think, job description, I think I've touched every part of this company once, no matter if it's
not every part.
Well, we'll keep it that way. But it's I've learned a lot. I'm very thankful. I'm very grateful for this. This is it's life changing. And the fact that I had this goal of that wanting to design for Disney, and I ended up designing and working for a Disney website unofficially, which is the best. It's unreal. 14 years.
I always think if I ever had to go for another job interview, what would I put down that I did?
It'd be very difficult.
It is, yeah. Look, some people in the company do have very specific job descriptions, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people, it's, you are where we need you. Yeah. And, what that could be looked at any number of ways, I guess. But the way I look at it is that, I've got a lot of really talented people that can shift gears and switch hats like on a dime and get it done well. And that you don't find everywhere. So, I look at it like that. I know they probably like a little more structure to their lives, but I like to keep them on their toes.
At first, I would have said that. Yeah, I would like to know a little bit more what I'm going to do today. Now I don't want to be. I would rather just do what needed to be done.
Have the freedom to move around, because it also makes it a lot more interesting, at least for me anyway.
Now, see, I got the best of both worlds because I do have the structure of having an actual office to go to and things that have to be done in a timely
You're
manner.
the only one that does.
I like that, but I also
we have our payment team
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
structured, and there's a couple people.
I like that part, but I also like the other part of coming here and the travel agent, you can kind of weave it all in and do that in your own time. So, but I love my little structured world. Don't mess with it.
Don't throw them off.
All right, so let's talk to you, John.
All right. Well, our stories are very much intertwined.
Very much so.
I assume you're going to jump in when I get things wrong,
Oh, no question.
which I will.
You should be used to that with
Well,
being correct.
I have no memory these days. I can't remember anything. So
I think that's because he doesn't have to.
that's
So,
very true.
so he forgot the promise about you could spend $30,000 on Louis Vuitton in
Oh,
Paris.
you know something? We joke about, I have a Louis Vuitton addiction. No, everybody knows that. I think if I told John this is what I want, John would go,
Done.
all right, go ahead.
Yeah.
That's another thing. But I think he doesn't have to remember because he'll turn to me and say,
Right.
What
I
was-
have very good people in my life who help me stay on track with remembering the stuff that
details.
I don't have to remember. But my Disney-ness started with I was going to school. Out of high school, I went to a 2-year college and did very, very poorly. As a matter of fact, I am surprised.
It's so hard to believe that, honestly.
Because it was an extension of high school. It was a community college. It was a lot of partying and a lot of fun. And I'm surprised I walked away with any kind of degree. But I had a degree in biology, of all things. And
What year was this? 1965?
I don't. It was before they kept track
okay.
of records. Before there were any kind of years.
just after Quest for Fire.
Exactly. And I went to work. I was working in different areas of technology in New Jersey and landed a job at Nabisco, of all places, right? The food manufacturer.
The National Biscuit Company.
Exactly, National Biscuit Company. And one of the things that was made clear to me at the time was if you want to get further in this job, in this career, you have to have a 4-year degree. So I said, okay, I'm going to get a 4-year degree. And I buckled down and I went to school at night while I was working full-time during the day. And I graduated with honors. I was the top of my class with a degree in chemistry and a minor in biology. And as a reward to myself, I decided I was going to go to Disney, send myself on a trip to Disney. So myself and a good friend of mine went to Walt Disney World. It was of these days when you can get like the $69 a night package, where it was all inclusive and you stayed at the Caribbean beach. And it was fun. We had a good time, but it wasn't like, oh, I have to go back to Disney. I'm clawing to go back to Disney. Time progressed. I came to terms with my sexuality, and I had started to meet people, and I went on the internet, because apparently that's the only place I can meet somebody, is on the internet. Once you meet me, it's all over.
It's all over.
So I went on the internet, and I met Pete. And I think it was, I'm almost afraid to say, I think it was like CompuServe or
AOL.
Was it AOL?
AOL.
Oh, it's
America
my
Online.
stomping ground of choice. Watch out, people. I'm on AOL.
Not anymore.
I think that's true.
Verizon just bought them for $4 billion.
So
Put a ring on it.
he put a ring on it. So we met, and Pete had a very, very high affinity for Disney. He was very much a Disney fan, and I sort of put up with it because it's kind of the thing you do. Oh, that's great.
Well, how long after you met on the internet did you meet in real life? I mean, how quickly does that happen?
Yeah, it wasn't,
A few
yeah.
weeks.
Oh, okay.
A couple
okay.
Few
weeks.
weeks.
Yeah. And so Pete's love of Disney, his fanness of Disney was kind of like something, all right, fine, we'll do it. And he was planning trips, and he had charts, and he had things he was working out.
Color coded.
And he'd be on the phone late at night with his friends, and they'd be talking Disney late at night. And I just thought, okay, whatever.
What the hell did I get myself into?
So we had our first trip, and I think that's when the light went off. That the light bulb went on and said, oh my gosh, I really love this. And I think it was because his passion wore off on me, and I could see how excited he was about it. So I became excited about it, and I got to see the things at Disney I didn't see the first time. The details, the technology, the things that were there. So we bought Disney Vacation Club. We started to go to Disney multiple times, and during the course of that, you had started the site, the DIS, and the discussion boards came along, and we were planning another trip to Disney, and at that time, my career had transitioned. I had been working in the field of science, and I had transitioned into computers. Stop looking at your watch.
Wow.
He's like, we got to be somewhere.
Dead air.
I had taken a position that was, an overlap between science and computers, because computers were just sort of getting kicked off in businesses, and I had a little bit of experience in it. So I took a job, and I went and I got more experience in that, and that became sort of what I was doing. We were doing freelance work where we were building applications on the side. So there was a lot of, sort of overlap there. And Pete was doing the website. And at one point we were making a trip, plans to go to Disney. And I said, when we go on this trip, I'm going to put in my resume and see if I can get a job. Thinking full well, they don't want me. They want someone who's got, who's going to be dressed up like Mickey Mouse or Goofy, or someone who's going to, sell glow sticks in the park. They're not going to want someone
You
with
could have
my...
been Pete, like Goofy's friend Pete.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead.
So I was planning for, this to be a bust. I brought a resume with me, and lo and behold, during the trip, there was a job fair. And in the job fair, the back of the job fair was a thing that said technology, for information technology. Put in my resume. During the trip, 3 phone interviews, 2 in-person interviews. Before we had left, we had the offer. They were going to send us down here. They were going to pay for our travel. They were going to put us up in temporary housing and give us the job. And it was accepted. I accepted the job in information technology at Walt Disney World. And Pete was like, well, that means I have to leave my job. And I'll let him sort of take the rest of that story from there. But one of the things that happened was, working for Disney, my love of Disney shifted. At first, I thought I wanted to be the behind-the-scenes kind of person and see all that stuff. And then I realized, no, my job was to be on the other side. I was supposed to be the person who experienced it and was the fan of it. So the fact that we were working on something else at the time and putting together a company that was going to sell Disney travel and was going to talk about Disney and support the fan community, that was more enticing to me than actually being a cast member. So it was actually right before the Millennium. I was working on the Millennium Project at Disney, where everyone had to worry about their computers switching from 1999 to 2000. And they said, well, everyone's got to work New Year's Eve 1999. And I said, well, that's stupid, because nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
Nothing bad's going to happen. I had quit right before then, and really, in earnest, had worked the travel agency aspect of our company. And then that was what I had sort of focused on and took over that.
Yeah, you got
How's
it
that
right.
in a nutshell?
You got it right.
got it right.
You
got it
didn't have to
right.
correct anything.
Good thing there weren't dates in there, because that
Yeah,
would
really.
have been wrong.
Well, that I can remember. I can remember most of the dates. But yeah, John's story and my story obviously intertwine very closely, because we were together as a couple when we started the DIS and Dreams. And for me, Disney was not really a major part of my childhood growing up. I don't really distinctly remember going to see certain Disney. I remember things like Bedknobs and Broomsticks and things like that, but I wasn't like, oh my God, I got to go see a Disney movie. I had a friend growing up who used to come to Disney every summer, and would come back and tell me all the great stories. And I wanted to go in the worst way. I wanted to come to Disney World in the worst way. But my parents, hardworking, one-income family, and couldn't afford it. Just plainly couldn't afford it. And, we did great vacations. They always made the most of it. But Disney wasn't really on the radar. And I said, when I'm old enough and I have my own money, I'm going to go to Disney World. And I was working for a government contractor in Tinton Falls, New Jersey. And I was working on a project for them that required this very specialized software, and the company that manufactured the software was having a conference down here. And I got one day to myself in Orlando. I said, this is it. I'm going to Disney World. And Epcot was my first park. And I've shared on the show before that I am a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. And at that particular point, I was, I want to say about 3 years sober, two or 3 years sober. And I remember walking into Epcot and saying to myself, kind of just looking how everything was so much larger than life and clean and friendly. This is what I drank and did drugs to feel like. That the world was great and the world was perfect and it was, safe and there weren't all these other things. I certainly have a story. I'm not going to go into it here, but I certainly have a story and aspects of my life I can relate with Craig. There were certainly aspects of my life that were less than ideal and certainly not very magical. But, for me, it almost felt like that first trip to Disney, like it was breathing this sigh of relief, like I'd come home, I guess is the best way to describe it. And it just set something off. And I decided, okay, I don't care what it is I have to do. I don't care what it is I have to do. I'm getting back here. And I'm coming back for a real vacation. Now, at that point, my mother was working for Sheraton as a housekeeper at the local Sheraton in Eatontown, New Jersey. And she got she was able to get the friends and family rate, which was $69 a night at the Dolphin. And I had left working for the government contractor and was now working as an intern at a drug and alcohol treatment center for indigent teenagers, indigent adolescents, at the New Hope Foundation on the grounds of Marlborough State Hospital in New Jersey. And so I was making, I want to say, $13,000 a year in that role. And, with my tax refund check and a bonus that I got when I left the government contractor and saving my pennies, I was able to hobble together enough money to go on this trip. And I mean, literally, I had money doled out for every single day. There was a certain amount that I was allowed to spend each day. I had it in paper clips and put it in the safe, and it was all in cash because I didn't have a credit card. And it was life-altering for me. That was my opportunity to really just kind of have the whole experience. And from that moment forward, it really did feel, and does to this day, feel as though the energy that I put into addiction transferred over to this. And that's something I think people need to understand if you're dealing with addiction yourself or with people in your life. That energy, it requires an enormous amount of energy to do that. I don't think people realize that. The amount of energy it takes to maintain an addiction is sometimes Herculean. And addicts have that energy in abundance. And when we stop, that doesn't go away. That energy is still there. It's all a matter of how we choose to channel it. We can channel it for good or we can channel it for bad. And for me, I found Disney at the perfect time. It allowed me to channel my energy into that. And so, yes, it was obsessive, compulsive, no question about it. Yes, there were many midnight conversations with my friend Neil, who was my travel partner. And we would go through the brochures and the books and call central reservations and change our reservations and change our flights. And can we add a night here? Can we do this? Can we do that? We would have a plan down to the minute of what we were going to do each day of our trip. How long was it going to take to walk from Spaceship Earth to Wonders of Life? And how long would it take to get on the ride? And how long was the ride? And how much could we fit in a day? It was crazy. But it was the basis ultimately by which I built the DIS. And when the internet came along, in popularity anyway, was 1996. It started, I started getting more involved on the internet. AOL, certainly a big part. I was already on AOL. That's how I met John. And I had decided, I had gotten a job working for UPS in their IT division in Morristown, New Jersey. And I was in the training department, and it was a job I absolutely loved. I loved the people I worked for. I loved the people I worked with. And I had just been dabbling around, playing around with websites and stuff because it was cool, using Front Page, the Microsoft, for those who remember. And I had mentioned to people I was working with at UPS that I was dabbling around in websites. Well, this got to the ear of one of the upper-level managers who had decided that, they needed an internal website for all the support staff, which was like several thousand people in 5 different locations in 3 states, and they wanted me to do it. I didn't want the job. I was very happy in training, and I really didn't know anything about web design, but I had more experience than anybody else in our department because I'd actually built a website. Didn't matter if it was any good or not. And I wanted a career. I expected to have a long career with UPS. And that's a company where you just don't say no. So somebody suggested that to like hone my, because I was freaking out. Like, oh my God, these people want me to do that. What do I do? And somebody suggested, build a website for yourself. Something you're interested in, that you can hone your skills and get your, kind of work out all that stuff, and then take what you learn and apply it to what you do on this project. So I built a small Disney fan site. And I will never forget the morning that I discovered the log files. And, oh my God, people are coming to this site. And the sense of panic that fills me to this day. There are all these people coming to the site, and I don't know who they are. And I've likened it before to the feeling of your house is a mess, and you get a phone call from a friend saying, I'm 10 minutes away. And you got to run around and hurry up and clean up. And I've been hurrying up and cleaning up for 17 years. And that's how I started the site. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And then when John got the job working for Disney and I had to leave UPS, I said to him, okay, then I'm going to try and make a go out of, I was going to build a web development company. And in order to pay the bills, while I was trying to get that company started, we started selling advertising on the DIS, started selling hotel rooms, and making money. I'm like, well, wait a second. I'm making money here. Let me follow this. Dreams Unlimited came next. And, that was 1999. I started the DIS in June of, actually it was late May of 97. We say June 1st, but it was actually late May.
Who
And
came up with the Dreams Unlimited?
The name was our business partner, Donna. Her daughter actually had come up with that name. But you mean the actual concept of the company?
No, I just warned them about the name. The concept was you guys, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a completely different concept at the time. You'll appreciate this, and our agents listening will appreciate this. Donna was going to handle all of the reservations.
Yes.
Donna was going to process them.
funny.
And
It was
book
naive.
them. We were very naive. And then we would give them out to our agents to then, work with clients
Deal
to
with,
do itineraries and stuff. And we quickly found out that was overwhelming.
Exactly. But
So-
How funny.
this the story for me has always been, and I hope always will be, just follow the passion. Just follow the passion. The money will come. The money will take care of itself. Somehow, the money seems to take care of itself. And I don't know if that's everybody's experience or just mine, but it has certainly been the way of it for me, and something I am eternally grateful for. And I don't say that lightly. I don't say that to be cute or to be flippant. I am eternally grateful for this, for what I get to do, for the people I get to work with. And the fact that all of you who listen and watch, and come to the site and visit the boards and, yes, do business with Dreams Unlimited. That's why I get to sit here. That's why we all get to sit here. And it has changed our lives. It certainly has changed mine. I know it's changed everybody's, I think. And the experiences, the places I've gotten to go, the people I've gotten to meet, eternally grateful, and I do not let one day pass. Not one day passes in my life where I don't remember that, and I don't think about that, how blessed and lucky I am for what I have, because I have been without anything. I have been as low as you can go. I have knocked on death's door. I should be dead. I should be dead several times over, and believe me, there were times I worked very, very hard to do that. But I'm not. I'm here, and I get to do this. And I am. It's your fault.
You broke it.
I am.
She was tearing up, and I thought,
I am eternally grateful. And with that, thanks everybody for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back with you again next time with another edition of the DIS Unplugged. Get us out.
I don't want to do this anymore.